Dag from the Netherlands. Hello everyone, we are here in Assen. The sun is shining and have a look at this. We've actually got spectators on the grandstands and we're super excited. Finally, we've got some people watching. We've got an audience, which of course is also going to be very important and very motivating to the drivers, that's for sure. It's going to be the old feeling again when you're crossing, that you've got an audience there, which of course is spectacular, and we're absolutely thrilled. It's the fourth race weekend, and yeah, Nico Müller is just the man to watch out for. He's already sat in the car, ready for the qualifying. He's leading by 36 points ahead of René Rast, and he's really unbeatable at the moment. But we've got the qualifying coming up, so let's see how he will do. So here's your commentator. Enjoy.
Thanks very much indeed, Verena. Verena Reed down there in the pit lane as we get set for qualifying.
So in 1 minute, most of the guys will queue up. Copy.
Nico Müller there, your championship leader after 6 races of the 2020 season. Welcome along, everybody, to this qualifying session. My name's Chris Hartley. I'm going to talk you through the action for the entire weekend here, this 4th weekend of the 2020 DTM season. Nico Müller, the championship leader, with a 36-point advantage over the driver that beat him to last year's title, the double champion, René Rast. 133 points for Müller, 97 for René Rast, and third, Robin Franz on 92 points, racing in his home country and looking for his first race victory in his DTM career. Philipp Eng has been looking good so far this weekend, and the leading light for BMW. BMW having taken their first victory last time out at Lausitzring.
Copy.
And there is René Rast, 3 times a Porsche Super Cup champion, and also a multiple Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland champion before he came into the DTM in 2017. Won the championship in his first season, was runner-up in his second, and won it again in his third season last year. So we've had a weekend so far at Spa and 2 back-to-back weekends at the Lausitzring, one using the sprint version of the circuit, one using the longer Grand Prix version of the track. And we've had Nico Müller taking 3 wins so far, and his worst result of 5th place. That was in the most recent race at the Lausitzring. We've had 2 wins for René Rast, one on each of the weekends at the Lausitzring. And Lucas Auer became the first driver to take a victory for BMW this season. On his return, the Austrian, to the championship after a year away, racing in Super Formula. He took the victory, and it was a BMW 1-2. He overtook his brand mate, Timo Glock, the ex-Formula 1 driver, on the final lap of the race. So Lucas Auer moving up into 9th place in the championship standings. Just got a glimpse of him there. And the number 22, BMW in the garage. And there is Robin Franz, who's taken more pole positions than anybody else so far this season. But he hasn't been able to convert any of them as yet into a race win. He's had 4 pole positions so far. His worst grid in any of the race weekends has been a 3rd. So he's been qualifying fantastic. He's led many a race. He's been fighting at the front, but it hasn't quite come to him yet. But he is 3rd in the championship. He has taken 4 podiums so far. And there, another driver that's a former champion, Mike Rockenfellow, and his long-term relationship that he's got with Audi Sport Team Phoenix. And looking very strong at the start of the season at Spa-Francorchamps, where he scored a 4th and a 5th place finish. He's had some more top 6s since then, but also a couple of races outside the points. So he'll be looking to push on. We've had 2 free practice sessions here at Assen so far. And in both of them, the longer 45-minute session yesterday morning and the shorter 30-minute session yesterday afternoon, the tendency was that drivers would go out early on and try to set a quick single lap time in a mock qualifying run, and then they spent the rest of the session concentrating on longer runs. So lots of the drivers in the first free practice session yesterday running for up to 20 laps, and then the second session yesterday between 8 and 10 laps.
30 seconds, and we can warm up the engine now.
See Dieter Gas, the head of Audi Motorsport, there in the background of that previous shot. Loic Duval, the former Le Mans winner, was quickest in the first free practice session yesterday. His time was a 1 minute 24.293. Nico Müller was 2nd, Robin Franz was 3rd, and René Rast was 4th. In the second free practice session yesterday afternoon, things got quicker, with Robin Franz fastest with a 1:23.547. To put it into context, last year's pole position time for race 2, the quicker qualifying session last year, year, the DTM's first visit to Assen, was a 1 minute 24.849. So already yesterday in free practice, the car's going 1.3 seconds quicker than they did 12 months ago. Now, important to note, if you're joining us yesterday for free practice, I talked about this, but if you're just joining us for the first time this weekend, the circuit here had some resurfacing work done pre-lockdown in February, and a couple of motorcycle rate events were held and the bikes were going much quicker, and that has certainly had an effect on the lap times for these DTM cars. It's a very quick lap time now. However, it really has been eating the tyres up, and there were some cars coming back yesterday after the longer runs with tyres that were looking decidedly second-hand, and one or two radio transmissions with drivers, you know, getting slightly concerned over the condition of the tyres. So yesterday in the long runs, for example, the cars were going 4 to 5 seconds a lap slower than they could do on a single lap pace, just to try and manage the tyres for a longer run. Now, if you can go 4 or 5 seconds a lap quicker, even if you can only make that last for 6 or 7 or 8 laps, that's a huge amount of time that you could gain, potentially 30 seconds on the track. So it's making me wonder if we might see some 2-stop strategies when we get to the race later on. That second free practice session yesterday, comparing the times, the longer run times between the top 3 in the championship, Müller, Rast and Franz, they were pretty similar in terms of their best lap times early in the session. They did, well, Rast did an 8-lap run, Müller and Franz did a 10-lap run. 1:26.4 was the best lap time for Franz. He was slightly quicker and got the overall fastest lap time earlier in the session, and there was only a 1/10 of a second between Rast and Müller. But their average lap times, there was quite a big difference. Franz was quicker at the start, but he wasn't able to keep the speed going throughout his session. So his average lap time over those laps was a second a lap slower. 1:27.3 average for Müller and Rast, 1:28.3 for Franz, and he was much slower at the end of the session. His last lap of the 10 was a 1:31.2, whereas the others stayed in the low to mid 1:28s. Philipp Eng was very much on a similar pace to them as well. So as Verena said, we've got spectators here, a limited number of them. Social distancing measures in place for those not in their own bubble, their own family bubble, and great to see that we've got people and some normality coming back here into motorsport at last. There is the team principal of Team AB Sportsline, Thomas Biermeier, the team that lead the championship team standings at the moment. The excellent work of Nico Müller and Robin Franz, first and third in the championship. Audi Sport Team AB on 225 points. The team that won the title last year, Team Rosberg, are on 144. They ran Rast and Green. And then BMW Team RMG third on 92 points. In the brand standings, Audi have got 406. BMW have got work to do to catch up. They've only got 186 points. So cars on track. There is a 35% chance that there might be some rain between 11 and 12. But the shots that we've seen of the skies look pretty blue. There are 1 or 2 clouds up there, though, if you look carefully. So I think they'll be keen to get out and get some laps done quickly. And Sheldon van der Linde, who picked up his first DTM podium in the 3rd race of the season, the first of the 4 races that we had at the Lausitzring. And there's Loke de Waal, who was quickest in that first free practice session, but somebody that seemed to struggle compared to the very quickest guys on the longer run pace. And wasn't able to keep the car going on the tyres for as long. They start the weekend with 7 sets of Hankook slick tyres. Hankook now in their 10th season as the official and sole tyre distributor and supplier to the DTM, and a relationship which is set to continue for a number of years yet. So no flying lap times as yet. Loic de Waal's done a 1:32.297, but that is not yet a competitive lap time. There is Jonathan Aberdeen, who comes into the weekend 12th in the standings. He's picked up a number of points finishes, including his best result of the season so far last time out at the Lausitzring with a 7th place finish. Aberdeen looking like he's on a bit of a charge on this lap, but certainly the first sector. And Philipp Eng, who was very strong all day yesterday, both in single lap pace and on longer runs. He's on a good lap as well in the first sector, so too Habsburg, but purple sectors don't need too much yet because we're not yet got a competitive lap time. There's the final chicane that leads them out onto the start of what is a 4.54 kilometre long laps, 2.8 miles long. There are 18 turns, there are 12 right, 6 left. There's a combination of chicanes, hairpins, slower corners, some very quick sections at the back as well, particularly the left-hander, 6th gear left-hander towards the end of the lap at Ramshock. Well, they have over 2.5 G, the drivers, to contend with. There's a long back straight as well, which runs almost parallel to this start-finish straight, and that is over half a kilometre long. Right, Duval goes a 1:23.909. Here's a replay of Ferdinand Habsburg riding the curbs and just avoiding the gravel trap, getting the nose of his car up in the air as Robin Franz we go on board with now, and he's started the lap well. Robin Franz, who was quickest in the second free practice session yesterday. We know you can do a 1:23. 1:23.9 is the target time to beat. Philippe Eng second at the moment with a 1:24.137. Then it's Rocky, 1:24.303. Fractionally quicker than Van der Linde in 4th place currently. Robin Franz absolute best in the second sector as well, but Lucas Auer's gone top of the times for now for BMW, 1:23.853. His Franz, I think they're going to be quicker when he comes through. Muller's on a pretty good lap as well. Not sure it's going to be to the top. It will be actually, 1:23.658. But for how long? Franz comes through and goes even quicker, 1:23.375 seconds. There at his home circuit, the crowd behind him, looking for his first DTM win, looking for his 5th pole position of the season and the 7th qualifying event of the year. Mike Rockenfellow personal best in the first 2 sectors. René Rast's gone into the top 3 as well. So the top 3 in the championship, albeit in a different order, are the top 3 in qualifying. Robert Kavitza with sparks trailing from the front right corner of his BMW and having to take evasive action there, running way out wide over the curbs. Something that was a conversation between quite a few drivers and engineers yesterday was how much the car is bottoming out. And certainly on a heavier fuel load, the tyres weren't up to temperature for the first couple of laps yesterday. There was more sparking than normal. It looked spectacular. It's not necessarily great for the handling of the cars or for the bottom of the cars either. You can start dragging along the tarmac. Franz, 1:23.375 seconds. That's nearly 3/10 quicker than Muller, the championship leader, second quickest. Rast, third, only 100th behind. 1:23.658 for Muller and 1:23.668 for Rast. Duval on a 1:23.841 in 4th place. Auer with a 1:23.853 is only 12 thousandths of a second slower than him. And then you've got Mike Rockenfellow in 6th place, 1:24.058. Philippe Eng, 1:24.137, 7th. 8th for Habsburg, despite his moment earlier in the session. Number 62 with a 1:24.265. Van der Linde down to 9th now with a 1:24.336. And Marco Wittmann, the 2-time champion, with a 1:24.383 in 10th. Jamie Green, 11th. Harrison Newey, 12th. Fabio Scherer 13th, Timo Glock, who's been qualifying pretty well this year, down in 14th at the moment. Jonathan Aberdine's already back to the pits in 15th, and Robert Kavitza 16th.
Total in the box.
Yeah, copy. Wait a bit for the tires. Put them halfway on or something.
Well, Robin Franz already quicker than he was yesterday.
Man, it's just a shame because it was a really good lap till turn 15 where the front just died mid-corner and I needed to go off power because of that.
Okay, understood. So we have a few minutes in the box. I will check the tire pressure and I will come back to you, okay?
Copy. But the car balance is alright. The lap was good, man, till 15.
Okay, that's good, that's good. If you want a bit, in general, more temperature, we can also put the front and the rear tire together.
Not a fan of that.
Okay, copy.
Not a fan of that, Robin Franz says. Conversation there between Robin Franz and Michael Petit, his race engineer at Team Sportsline. Now, turn 15 that Robin Franz is referring to, the lap was great until turn 15. That's the very quick left-hander in Sector 3, just before they get to that final chicane. 6th gear corner taken at 265 kilometres an hour at Ramhock. And the car lost balance there, he said. And that's worrying for everybody else, isn't it? Because he reckons he can go quicker, and he's already nearly 3/10 up on the second quickest driver in the session. So Robin Franz looking absolutely on fire at the moment.
Okay, Philippe is confirmed. Normal release time. We focus on the first push, but you keep going unless I tell you to abort.
So Philippe Eng receiving his instructions from Matteo Ruggero Aprialetti, his engineer at Team RBM. And great super slow-mo replay here of Eng in action, riding the curbs and the bumps here on what is a very quick surface, but one which is going to cause a few headaches for longer runs in the race this afternoon, and maybe some unusual strategies. It's going to be a battle of strategy as much as speed, I reckon, this afternoon. There's still a chance they might get some rain as well.
I felt like I could even nearly improve on the second lap, so maybe I adjust my DRS strategy. Copy.
Okay, so Nico Muller talking about when and where he uses his DRS, which he can use and push to pass to gain another boost of horsepower during qualifying this year.
What's the lap time of the fast guns?
So pole time is 23.3 Franz, best BMW 23.80 yourself, next BMW is 24.1.
Yep, Lucas Auer, quickest BMW, Philip Eng, next best BMW is just about 0.3 of a second slower than him. His DRS can be used in qualifying for the first time this season. It can only be used 3 times per lap. It's up to you where you use it. So Nico Muller obviously deciding he might want to use it somewhere else because he doesn't feel he can get any better. Now there is the rear tyre of Robin Franz's car, and you can see already on a short run the sort of damage that has been done to the surface of these tyres when they're pushing hard in qualifying. So really going to have to look after them in the race, or go for it and stop more times and change more tyres. Robin Franz with a 1:23.375 second lap, provisionally on pole position. They've got another run to go. We've got just under 8 minutes left in this 30-minute qualifying session. And Robin Franz, quickest lap of the weekend so far, a couple of tenths quicker even than he managed in the second free practice session yesterday afternoon. The Formula Renault World Series and Euro Cup champion, 2-time Blancpain GT champion as well. And there for the first time in, nearly a year, we've got spectators watching a race live. First time since Hockenheim, the final round of 2019. Another replay of Kavitza going out wide, having to take evasive action and not doing his tyres much good either. Robert got his best qualifying performance so far last time out at the Lausitz Ring with 11th, and ran in the points in the early stages of the race, but unfortunately fell back as it went on. He's been saying that the amount of time he's losing on a lap compared to the quick guys, he reckons 90% of it is in a straight line. That's not to do with the top speed of the car, it's to do with how the car is laying the power down, getting the traction down and accelerating up to top speed. So they've identified that as an area they need to work on in terms of the improvements to the setup of his car. He's also said that the car, certainly in race conditions, gets a little bit leery, a little bit understeery. Bit of repair work going on there to Fabio Scherer's front right. If it's not quite fitting, kick it down. Fabio, one of the rookies this year, has had some impressive performances at times and hovering around the points. Hasn't scored a point yet, but he's come close a couple of times.
We have like a minute now.
Best result was 11th in the second race at the Lausitz Ring sprint circuit. It's a busy period, this, in this condensed season for the DTM teams and drivers. Assen this weekend, Nürburgring next weekend, and Nürburgring the week after that as well. 3 back-to-back races. And there's a bit of a breather before a double-header at Zolder in Belgium for rounds 7 and 8. And the 9th weekend, the final weekend of the season at Hockenheim, now in November, after the late start to the season due to the worldwide pandemic. Right, cars starting to be released back into the pit lane. Jonathan Aberdeen gets out just in front of Robert Kavitza. Robert got into 8th place in the times yesterday in the second free practice session. His best lap so far, though, is way off. He hasn't really put a proper lap in yet. 1:27.106. Needs to be in the 1:24s to be in the mix at all, and preferably into the 1:23s. Got 5 drivers, the top 5 have broken the 1:24 barrier at the moment. Franz, Muller, Rast, Duval and Auer. They all now go out, 5 minutes to go. New set of Hankook boots on all the cars here, looking to improve. But you've got a very narrow window I think one lap, if you don't get that lap right, struggling to get two really, really good laps out of the tyres on this surface. And Robin Franz deliberately goes out behind everybody else and gives himself a little bit of space out on the circuit. The Dutchman gunning for this 5th pole position of the season. We're going to see more from Sheldon van der Linde as well. He's currently just inside the top 10. But Sheldon has been one of the brighter qualifiers this year. He's averaged 6th on the grid. He's been on the 2nd row of the grid a couple of times, once at Spa and once for the last race at the Lausitz-Ring, although fortunately stalled the car on the grid for round 6 of the championship. What a great comeback he had though, charging his way back through the field to finish in the end in 10th place and pick up a crucial championship point. So van der Linde, maybe more to come from him. His fastest lap time so far is a 1:24.336. If he could find another couple of tenths, he could start to hover around maybe the 3rd row of the grid. But he is at the moment just about a second away from the best time that we've seen from the provisional pole sitter Robin Franz. There is René Rast then going on the attack. He was lacking a bit on the long run in the first free practice session compared to certainly compared to Nico Müller. He and Franz were pretty evenly matched actually, but the average lap pace over around about 20 laps, which most of them were doing, was a second down on Müller. He wasn't necessarily as quick at the start, but seemed to be able to get more life out of his tyres and keep a more smooth curve on the drop-off of his lap times. But in the second free practice session, as is so often the case, Rast has a look at the data, works things out with his engineer, and they get quicker and get closer. And so, as I said, there wasn't that much between them yesterday in that afternoon session when they were running sort of medium runs of between 8 and 10 laps. On board with Müller then, this low shot from the front splitter of his Audi, giving you a great sense of speed. As we cut to Sheldon van der Linde going on the attack then. This is his chance to improve. Takes the BMW into the 3rd gear, turn 1, Harbocht corner. Into this first complex through the 2nd corner at Maddijk, and then tightening up through that right-hander 2nd gear at Osselbroken, 120 kilometres an hour. So right down for the much tighter left-hand hairpin. 1st gear, this one. Slowest corner of the lap, 70 kilometres an hour through Strubben. Then this is a long straight now, 560 metres. It's actually a bit curved at times, but it's flat out all the way. And then a 5th gear corner, the right-hand kink coming up, 210 kilometres an hour through Ruskenhoek. And then we have a series of 90-degree turns, a left followed by a right. The right-hander Streckenval taken in 4th gear. Coming up to the left at Duiksloot, which is a bit slower, 3rd gear corner. Approaching at 130 kilometres an hour. Furthest points of the circuit through Duikersloot, and then accelerating up towards this very quick kink that they get at Ramhoek, the 6th gear left-hander, just before they slam on the brakes. Peak braking, they have 2.5 G of force on the drivers, testing every ounce of their muscular strength and concentration and stamina as they brake for the final chicane, the Geert Timmerbocht, 2nd gear corner, 125 kilometres an hour. Ride the curbs, floor it, and see where it puts you in terms of lap time. Van der Linde goes through, and that was a build-up lap, a 1:24. Now he'll have to go for it on this one with only a minute and 20-odd seconds left on the clock. Duval has gone with a 1:23.34, 1 second lap to the top of the time. So Loic Duval, 34 thousandths of a second quicker than Robin Franz. Eng and Rockenfellow both on personal best laps as well. And Philip Eng gains a place. He goes from 7th up to 6th place, but Rocky's on a pretty similar lap here. Coming up to the final chicane, accelerating out, and the 2013 champion goes over the line. Does he improve? Yes, he goes into the top 3. Mike Rockenfellow goes 3rd with a 1:23.569 second lap. So it's Duval, Franz, Rocky, the top 3. Top 3 score points, championship points as well. 3 for pole, 2 for 2nd, and 1 for qualifying 3rd. And they really do add up at the end of the season if you have good qualifying performances. Müller goes through, 5th quickest, 1:04.848 at the moment. Personal best in the first 2 sectors. And over the line he'll go. Müller, Ferdinand Habsburg on 3rd quickest. That's pulled out of nowhere. And terrific lap. Müller with a 1:23.459, personal best, 3rd place. So Habsburg was 3rd, but only briefly. Müller back into the top 3. Jamie Green needs a good lap. He's struggling a bit at the moment, down in 12th place, although his long run pace looked pretty decent yesterday. So it's Duval, Franz, the top two, Muller third, Habsburg fourth, Rockenfellow fifth, René Rast down in 6th place at the moment. And that's Robin Franz heading back to the pits. He's unable to improve, so he's the first of the front runners to come in. The clock has ticked down to 0. Rast is still out there trying to attack, but he hasn't had an improvement in the first sector, and he's bidding off this lap. Replay of the reigning champion, getting it wrong at the chicane at the end of the lap. Just rode too much curb on the way in, straight lined it on the way out, and that's his chances of a top 3 in qualifying gone. René Rast has averaged 3rd on the grid this season and has been in the top 3 in all but one of the qualifying sessions so far. His worst grid, a 7th. It's not quite going to be as bad as that, but only 6th place. And Loic Duval, the driver, it looks like he's got it sealed. Nobody else is able to improve on their final laps. And Loic Duval with a 341 second lap does it by just 34 thousandths of a second to get his 2nd career pole position. He was quickest in the free practice session yesterday. There's still a question mark over his long run pace, but I'll have looked at the setup and it's a different beast today, the track. Slightly different weather conditions, brighter, a little bit warmer. And Loic Duval, well done to him. Robin Franz, for once, doesn't get pole position. However, if he could have the choice of a pole or a win, I know which one he'd go for. So maybe having started 4 races on pole this year and not won a race, maybe this time he won't start on pole, but will get the win. That's what he'll be hoping anyway. That's what the Dutch fans will be hoping. But it's Loic Duval, Robin Franz and Nico Muller who will pick up the top 3 positions. 3 championship points to Duval, an important 2 championship points going to Robin Franz. That will put him on to 94 and to within 3 points of René Rast. And Nico Muller, of course, adds to his tally with another point, so to move on to 134 points and a 37-point advantage. So whatever happens in the race this afternoon, we're still going to be the championship leader come what may, with only another 25 points available this afternoon for a race victory. So very well done to Loic Duval. That's an excellent qualifying performance. First time he's been on the front row of the grid this year. His best was a 3rd position in the first qualifying session at Lausitzring on the sprint circuit. And here he is, up onto pole position for Audi Sport Team Phoenix with a 123.341 second lap, but it was mighty close, just 34 thousandths of a second between him and the home favourite Robin Franz. Nico Muller, the championship leader, 3rd. Ferdinand Habsburg with a career best 4th place. Well done to the Austrian driver. 5th place, Mike Rockenfellow. 6th place, René Rast, 2nd in the championship. Then Lucas Auer flying the flag for BMW in 7th. Philip Eng in 8th. Jonathan Aberdeen and Marco Wittmann rounding out the top 10. Van der Linde 11th. Green down in 12th place. Newey 13th, Glock 14th. That's a low grid for him as well. Timo was 2nd in the last race at the Lausitzring. Kavitza 15th, and Fabio Scherer completing the lineup for the first race this afternoon. Right, we've got Verena Reitz down in the pit lane, and she's ready to catch up with one of our starts of qualifying.
Here's a man who's starting in pole position, Loic Duval. It's your first pole this season, but you've had 2 in your career. So do you think you can aim for a win?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the qualifying, I think it's not that important here this weekend, even though it's always better to start at the front. But we saw yesterday a lot of damages on tires, you know, and difficult to make it for a long stint. So I would prefer to have a really consistent car without any trouble with the tires in the race than being on pole. But I'm not gonna lie, it's always great, you know, for the team as a reward and for myself to do a pole. But the game changer this afternoon will be really the consistency through the race.
All right, well, best of luck for the race, and I guess it's a tough one for everyone, so give it your all. Thank you, Loic.
Thanks.
Back to you, and I'm gonna grab, probably somebody else. I think Robin Franz next, so back to you for a moment.
Thanks very much, Farina. Yeah, Loic Duval there, just echoing what we all thought, really, that the race is the big thing, as of course it always is, but especially because we've got this potential issue with tyre degradation in the race. Let's find out, though, what Robin Franz has to say. He's down with Verena.
Okay. And I've got Robin Franz here. Robin, you're not in pole, that's a change, but considering the fact that you're Mr. Pole this season, but you haven't won yet, maybe starting in P2 is going to be your chance to now win this race. What's your feeling for that?
Yeah, could be, but I think today in quali I had the car to put it on pole again, especially after the first outing with the mistake I did in the last sector. And then in the second outing I did a mistake in turn 1, I went wide and I basically gave up the lap to prepare for the second push. But I didn't have time to do it, so it was quite unfortunate because, as I said, I felt strong in the car. But yeah, I mean, starting from P2 is still a very good position to start from. And here in this track is very hard on the tires. So in the race, everything is possible.
It's going to be a tough one. Thank you so much, Robin. Back to you.
Yeah, so we knew about the mistake that he had at Ramhoek, the sixth gear corner in the first session. Knew he felt that he could have gone quicker had it not been for that. And the second one, he had aborted the first lap. Loic Duval then on pole position. Robin Franz still on the front row of the grid there. Another excellent qualifying performance with Nico Müller and Ferdinand Habsburg lining up third and fourth for this afternoon's race. Mike Rockenfellow making it a really good day for Team Phoenix. René Rast is alongside with his second worst qualifying of the year. Lucas Aaron, Philipp Eng for BMW on the fourth row of the grid. Jonathan Aberdeen is going to start ninth. Marco Wittmann is going to be alongside 10th on the grid. Then on row 6, we've got Sheldon van der Linde and Jamie Green potentially to come through. Two very quick drivers. With Harrison Newey, the newcomer, and Timo Glock just behind 13th and 14th. And the final row of the grid, Robert Kavitza and Fabio Scherer line up together for a 16-car starting grid for this afternoon's 55-minute plus 1 lap race. There is, as I say, the potential for maybe some rain to come. There are 1 or 2 clouds due to come over Assen around about 1 o'clock, and the race getting underway just after 1:30. So potentially that could come into play as well, but there's more chance of it being dry than wet. But it is something that certainly is going to be playing on the minds of the teams and the drivers as well, one suspects, and maybe the crowd as well. Certainly looking at the pictures, it's more overcast than it was at the beginning of the session when there were more blue skies around. Nico Müller then, in the super slow-mo, the championship leader, he's going to be lining up third on the grid for the 7th race of the season. Nico, a new dad now, having given his girlfriend Victoria given birth to their first child, Finn. Robin Franz with the car second on the grid and the home support here at the Netherlands. And Loic Duval claims his first pole position of the year for Audi Sport Team Phoenix. We're looking forward to an absolutely fantastic race, an intriguing race to come this afternoon. Right, we can hand back now down though to Verena Reet in the pit lane.
So that was a pretty interesting qualifying here in Assen, and we're all looking forward to a very exciting race. Fact is, the weather is changing a little bit, so that might play into it. And it's definitely going to be a very exciting race. It's also going to be tough on the tires, so you do not want to miss it. We're looking forward to it, and see you in a bit. Bye-bye.